Hello, I am Kandace Martinez. I'm from Odessa, Texas, and I'm 33 years old.
Okay, can you describe your early childhood and family environment?
My early childhood, I was raised in Colorado for most of my childhood. Just remember just always being around family, hanging out with family, and that's what I did, and go to school and hang out with my kids. I grew up in a really small town called Erie, Colorado. So like all the friends that I grew up with, I've known them since kindergarten all the way up. I was very active. I enjoyed sports a lot, played soccer. Football was one of the sports I loved to play, but I never was able to play on a team just due to being a girl. So I was never allowed to play on a team or anything like that. I enjoyed playing all the sports with my cousins and stuff like that. I was very, what they would say, tomboyish.
So when did you first realize you were attracted to the same sex?
I mean, ever since I was little, I just knew that boys like girls and girls like boys, because I never saw anybody like, they're always like, oh, do you have a boyfriend? Do you have a boyfriend? You know, and to the boys they were like, do you have a girlfriend? So I never really was like, I noticed at a young age like, oh, okay, well then I'm supposed to like boys. Then that's when I would wish that I was a boy, so I can have a girlfriend instead of a boyfriend, because I was like, I don't want a boyfriend, I want a girlfriend. But I never saw any girls with a girlfriend, so I was like, well, can I be a boy? And that's how I kind of figured it out. I remember like being little, praying to God, like, can I just be a boy? Can I just be a boy? Can I just be a boy? So I can be treated like the boys. Because the boys, I noticed that they were able to play football. They were able to be in football teams. They were able to, you know, people saw boys as more like, oh, that's a boy thing. And I enjoyed doing boy things. And I was always criticized for liking boy stuff. So I was like, well, why can't I just be a boy so I can have a girlfriend, be, you know, normal, so people don't have to keep, you know, saying like, oh, that's a boy thing, that's a boy thing, that's a boy toy, that's boy clothes, that's boy. So at a young age, I remember just always struggling with that a lot.
How did you come to understand your sexual orientation during your youth?
Like I said, I just always wished I was a boy forever. And then when around like 13, around there, I remember like people saying they were bi, and I was like, what does that mean? And they would say like, oh, like, you know, like I like boys and girls. So I was like, oh, okay, that's a thing. And then I remember this group, not a group, but like these two like artists, they're named Tattoo, T-A-T-U. They're a Russian group. And they were obviously lovers, as showed in the music video. So then I was like, whoa, girls can like girls. And I thought they were very pretty. So I used to like, I was like in love with them. Like me and my cousin Sarah, we would like, we had their album, we would hear them, all the things you said. That was our jam. I want to say I was like 12 or 13. I was like, okay, I see it's okay. Like there's girls that actually have girlfriends and they're really pretty, you know? So I was like, I even got into, around the time AOL existed. So when I would go online, I would go to chat rooms and I would go to the lesbian chat rooms. And I was like, these are my people. And I was like 13, talking to probably grown men. But I mean, I was like, dang, I was like, this is a whole community. And so I used to do that behind my parents' back because I wasn't allowed to go to chat rooms or anything like that. But at that time, I had no one to talk to. Like, thank God for the internet, because I was able to at least feel comfortable with people that were just like me. I felt like, I don't know. And then we moved back to Odessa. And I mean, I was still like not really like myself yet. Like I was like, didn't really say anything, because around that time people would like not want to be friends with you and stuff like that and judge you. So I never really like spoke about it. MySpace came out, so I was able to like communicate through there. And I found a lot of people that were gay, and I first came out as bisexual, trying to be like, you know, now I'm just bi, I still like boys, you know, so people weren't like, no, don't be gay. People were like, you can't be gay.
Did you face any challenges or discrimination from peers or teachers?
I mean, I just knew like probably who I was wrong, because like I would see a lot of like things on like TV and stuff about like hating like gay people. So sometimes like I would wish I was dead, because like I would be like, I'm gonna be a disappointment to my parents. So I'd be like, I'd rather be dead than be a disappointment to my parents. I would see like my other friends, like what they went through with their parents. Like I remember I had a friend that her parents would like beat her 'cause she was gay, so they're trying to beat the gay out of her. I would see some people like their parents stopped talking to them, their parents. And I think that was like, dang, that's the worst thing that could ever happen. Like I'd rather be dead than to see like my parents disappointed in me or hate me for who I am. And so it was like trying to cover up my identity, because I didn't want them not to love me. It was, yeah, I didn't want them not to love me, because I think if my family or my parents stopped loving me, I don't think I could live with that. And like I used to think like, dang, like there's people that do that and live like that. And I can imagine what that does to somebody's like mental health. You know, and I can imagine that's why a lot of people committed suicide, is because even though like people can hate you, strangers can hate you, but as long as you have your family to back you up and to love you or appreciate you, that means the world to you. As long as you had your parents and your family behind you, then that's all you need. You could conquer the world. But at that age, when you're a teenager, just to know like, what if your parents are the ones to hate you? I think that's what pushes people over the edge. If they don't even love me and they're the ones that birthed me, who else is gonna love me? And that's one thing that I was scared to see. I didn't want to see my parents doing that to me, you know, disowning me and stuff like that, because I don't think I would have been able to handle that kind of resentment. But also I would see like how my girlfriend at the time, when I was a teenager, she would hold my hand and people would kind of look at us weird. So I knew like, okay, like a lot of people don't like this. So I'd kind of like learn how to just kind of like remove myself from it. And so I decided, you know, to be like hidden about it a lot. I would see like the teachers, like when my girlfriend would give me a kiss in school, they would make me feel uncomfortable, you know, like, what are you guys doing? Go to class. But I would see like a heterosexual couple right next to me, you know, kissing, holding hands, and they weren't told anything, you know? Like it would be like, I would see like disgust in their face. So I knew just not to really be very, you know, out there as a gay person.
How did your friendships and relationships develop during this period?
So around this period of time, we moved around that time. I think 13, around that age, you're kind of like trying to figure yourself out a lot. And we moved from Erie, Colorado. I remember, you know, trying to figure myself out. That's when those shows came out, Degrassi, South of Nowhere. You know, MySpace came out as well. And I remember there was this girl that I had the biggest crush on when I was 13 in Colorado. And it just felt different. Like I knew it was a crush, because I was like, I don't know, it just felt so different. But I didn't really tell anybody. It was just like a secret. But I could, now that I was older, I was able to transition to like those feelings. Those were like, I was like madly like in love with her. And I remember just like, man, like.
Did you talk to her?
Yeah, like we were like best friends. Like we would talk on the phone 24/7. She called me the day before I moved from Erie. Like I remember she called me, like literally we were walking out the door. moving to Odessa, and I remember she was that final call. I saw the phone, answered it real quick, picked it up, and we started talking, and she was just telling me bye, and she was gonna miss me and stuff like that. So I think it was like a mutual kind of thing, but again, we didn't really understand it at the time. Yeah, I had like a lot of feelings for her. Like I was like, dang, I have more feelings than I've ever had for anybody for her. So in that period, I was like, okay, I think this is what's happening. Like I must be into women.
Does she share her same feelings with you, or is she straight?
No, I mean, from what I know, she was straight. I was straight at the time. No one, like, no one had, it was just like feelings that I would feel like in my heart. Like, I don't know how to say. Like, I remember, like, I would always make eye contact with her. We would always be looking at each other across the classroom. And, like, I was like, I'm pretty sure, like, this is homo. And, like, so then we would talk and stuff like that a lot. Like, she was, like, the first person I talked to on the phone. After school, she was the person I talked to on the phone. And if any boy called me, I would talk to them. But then if I saw her, she was calling, hey, I gotta let you go. Boom. And I would click over, we would talk on the phone until I was only allowed to talk to the phone until 10 o'clock at night. She was the person that, like I said, we would talk on the phone 24/7. Like, that was my person. And then when I moved, of course, we still kept in contact. We still talked here and there. Then I met like other friends and stuff like that. You know, I had boys that liked me here and there, but it wasn't like a big old thing. Like, I never really like felt like that or anything like that. Those like chat rooms and stuff that I would go to, like, that's where I'd be like, hey, I'm trying to, you know, communicate with the same sexual people. And like, that's where I was trying to find my identity. If that's who I am, if I'm really into girls, that this is how it's supposed to be. And then I remember, I guess, like, whenever MySpace came out, we were able to connect to more people. That's when I started to talk to a girl. There was some girls I talked to, but like I wasn't interested in them like that way, because I was like, I kind of figured out like what kind of type I'm into. It wasn't into that type. I was more into like a different kind of type of girl. I started to notice that I was more into like, you know, sporty, girly girls. Like, that was my type. Like, that's kind of like my thing.
How did changes in laws and social attitudes towards LGBTQ plus people during 2000 through 2020 affect you personally?
Affected me personally, like I said, I never, I knew that it was very frowned upon because of all the things I would hear and people would say, and you know, a lot of people around the time would say very derogatory terms, you know, about gay people. So I don't know, like around that time, of course, it wasn't accepted. You had the don't ask, don't tell law, which is like, dang, like I was like, they really hate gay people to even put a law enforced in the military. Like, you can even say you're gay, or you would basically be discriminated. So I knew at that time, like, okay, I'm just not supposed to say anything. I just need to be quiet and hush hush. Because there was a lot of things that happened in the news. I remember there was a couple of lesbians that I saw in the news that got, you know, basically murdered for being who they were and who they liked, that they ended up being killed for that. I remember there was also a lot of hate crime, being, you know, gay guys getting beaten just for being gay. And so that scared me a lot. So I knew, like, okay, just don't be gay, because like, if you're gonna be gay, you're gonna get murdered. So I kept that kind of like, when in the, like, out there and just being a normal person. I just was like, okay, like, being normal is not being gay and not doing anything gay. So I would just act like a normal person, because I just didn't want to die or be hated on, or people, you know, say ugly things to me or anything like that. I felt very alone at that time, and I want to say till 2015, around there, 2012, yeah. I just felt so alone, like I knew I couldn't really be like forcefully myself, just because like I didn't want to get murdered or anything like that. Then they finally passed a law when Obama was in office that gay people can get married. Like it took to in the 2000s for that to even happen. Like it's just insane to me. I feel like anybody who wants to be with anybody can marry whoever they want, but again, that's just how it is, I guess. So I remember when that passed, and that was exciting, but I also saw a lot of hatred happening as well, like not in the office, but like if you went to, some people were getting discriminated even though it was a law that was passed, but if they lived in the wrong area and they wanted to get their license to get married, people would still find ways to discriminate against them. So I knew that me personally, I was like, I don't want to be affected in that issue. I don't want to be going to go get my license to get married to the person I love and then feel discriminated and feel not as accepting as anyone else. So I never even took that chance, just because I was like, I don't want that to happen to me. And I mean, I never even really came out to my parents even at that time in 2012 or anything like that. So again, I didn't want my parents to see me on the news or anything like that, like, you know. So in 2021, I finally got married to the person I was with since 2011. It took us that long to finally get married, but I wanted to make sure that me personally, I was comfortable enough to do it. Also, I was nervous about people, like if I had a wedding, I was scared that people were gonna, you know, like have picket signs outside my wedding, you know, because I want like a freaking big wedding, like how everyone has it. But I don't want people out there discriminating against my wedding. Like that would get me super upset. So I was like, it took me a while. So I finally got married in 2021 to my wife, and we've been married ever since. To really find out who my true identity was, I probably didn't figure out my true identity until like 2 years ago.
What happened there?
I started to go to like therapy and stuff like that, you know, and I've always like, I don't know, like I wish like I was comfortable with myself. So I always thought like maybe I'm transgender, like maybe I want to be trans, like maybe that's why I'll feel comfortable with who I am. I was like, maybe I'm supposed to, because ever since I was little I've always wished I was a boy. So I was like, I think I might be transgender, like that might be who I am. Because like, you know, I can be a boy, what I've always wanted to be. So I finally was like, because like I enjoy being a female, I enjoy being with females, I like females, and it finally figured it out, like I'm not transgendered. I think it was my brain trying to configure back to being normal, to being like what my thought process was normal, is a man and a woman. So if I'm transgender and I'm a boy, then I'll be okay to be with a girl and be normal. Like that's my identity of normalcy. I can hold their hand without being scared to be judged or gonna get murdered. I can kiss them without feeling like somebody's gonna, you know, do anything to me or anything like that. So I think my brain was trying to configure that and was confusing myself of thought of not being transgender. It was just me trying to become what I thought was normal, which I am normal. And I am a woman. I enjoy being a woman at times. But that was the first time I ever said I'm a lesbian. I've never said that word in my life. I've never said it. I've always hated that word. But after that, I was like, the reason I hated it was because I wasn't accepting of myself. Like I'm not transgender because I enjoy being a woman. I am a lesbian. like, then that's okay. Like, that's who I am. I'm a girl that likes to be with girls, and that's perfectly fine, and that's normal. And so then that's when I finally accepted. And like, I was married. I was been with this woman for years, and it barely took me about, like I said, 2 years ago to finally figure it out. Like, I'm a lesbian, and I'm okay.
So how did your family think about your relationships? How do they react to it?
So, I mean, I always had this one friend that came over all the time. She was my friend, everyone that, you know, because no one knew I was gay, but I mean, come on, I always had the same friend come over all the time. I had the same friend spend a night with me all the time. I was always with that same friend. And then also my friend, which was my girlfriend at that time, her family knew that she was gay. So they all knew that I was basically her girlfriend. But still, even though like her mom would introduce me to other people, would be like, or like her family would be like, oh, this is her friend. And I was like, dang, like it just felt so demeaning. Like it didn't feel like I was somebody's girlfriend. And that's how it always was when I was younger. Even when I got with my wife as well, it's the same thing. Like, oh, that's her friend. Oh, that's your friend. This is my friend. And I was always like that, but I would see like my cousins all around me that were, you know, heterosexuals. They would be like, oh, that's their girlfriend. Oh, that's their boyfriend. And I was like, why can't they just be okay with my girlfriend? But as I got older and finally everybody knew that I was dating, you know, a woman, and I would bring her around everywhere, I felt like my family was more accepting than myself. Because I used to have my aunt be like, oh, this is her girlfriend. And I'd be like, oh my God, did you just say that? Like, I was so embarrassed. And then even like my parents never called my wife, oh, that's just your friend. They'd be like, oh, that's her girlfriend, to people. And I absolutely wanted to go. If I was a turtle, I would have went into my shell. But I wasn't, unfortunately. So I would just be standing there like, yeah. And I'd be like, oh my God, they freaking hate me. Like, ugh. Like, I hate getting uncomfortable like that. But now, like, my family, I mean, I feel like they're more accepting than I am still. Still, I can feel uncomfortable and at ease sometimes. Because, like, I don't ever want to step over that boundary that people have. Like, when we had our wedding, I think that's what kind of took me such a long time to get married, is because I'm a big family person. And it would hurt me to know any family members that didn't go. Even though they acted like it was okay, but didn't go because they didn't want to take their kids. So then that would make me feel like they obviously don't agree with my lifestyle. Then I don't need them in my life. And if that happened, then that would have sucked for me. I probably would have just moved away and never talked to anybody ever again. And I would have it would hurt me internally, but for the good of my own life and my own sanity, I would have just pushed everybody out of my life. But whenever I did have my wedding, it really made me emotional because I was really surprised that, you know, like my cousins, they brought their kids and stuff like that. And it was just like completely like it was a normal wedding. Like they didn't make it seem like it was different. So I think after seeing that was like, oh, it's okay. Like they brought their kids to the wedding and I didn't have to act different. I didn't have to not kiss my future wife. I did not have to not hold her hand because, oh, there's kids around. But, you know, kids are always taken to regular weddings like that, you know, heterosexual weddings and they take their kids there, you know, and that's one thing I don't like when people are like, oh, Disney doesn't show, you know, they don't need to show that pride stuff. No, it's not different than a heterosexual relationship. There's a lot of cartoons and a lot of shows that there's a mom and dad that are married. But if a mom and a mom are married on that show, oh no, they shouldn't have shown that. Yeah, it's okay to be who you are, but they don't need to show that on a Disney Network show for kids. But did you not know that show that you just watched yesterday with your child had a mom and a dad? but that was okay. But you're quick to see when it's two men or two women together. So obviously you're not okay with it. But when I saw all my family bring their kids and had nothing to say, like they were like, yeah, that's her wife. Yeah, they're getting married. It made me feel like I was accepted. Like, kids are still gonna be kids, you know, they kind of don't understand, but they'll be like, where's your sister at? And like my family would be like, that's her wife, you know, like that's not her sister. And that makes me feel happy inside to know that they don't make me feel uncomfortable.
Is there anything you wish people understood better about your experiences?
I would say better about my experiences. I feel personally that I was actually very lucky. Even though my parents didn't understand it, and yes, it was rocky when I was younger, I wish they understood it a little bit better. But me personally though, my experiences and that what I went through was thankfully not as bad as I saw a lot of my friends go through. You know, some people don't get the acceptance from their family, and I'm thankful that mine wasn't so bad.
Any advice you can give to LGBTQ plus kids growing up right now?
I mean, thankfully, I feel like personally, millennials, we kind of paved the way to make it more accepting. I feel like my generation is really going out there to make it okay. I feel like when we grew up, we did really go through a lot of discrimination and we saw a lot of hatred. And as being adults and being able to, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's still gonna be some people that are my age that are very hateful. But it's a handful, I can honestly say. I feel like since we're the grown-ups now and we can make the rules and the laws coming up, like, we're just trying to make it a better place, more accepting, like, just make people feel comfortable, because we lived in a generation where we were judged constantly and hated on constantly and felt so uncomfortable. So where we just like, we don't want the generations before us to ever feel like that. So I feel like nowadays, after Obama leading the way to making, you know, gay rights okay and making it to where gays can get married, I feel like it's being more accepted. So I'm happy to see that there's kids that are in elementary school that are like, yeah, I'm gay. Yeah, I'm bi. Like, that makes me so happy. Like, I have a lot of friends that are teachers, and they teach in the elementary schools and stuff like that. And I'm happy to see that there is some kids that I know, because their parents are still probably closed-minded, and they really need to open their mind, because at the end of the day, your kid is going to be who they want, and you are number one advocate for them. And when they see that you are very against it, they're gonna hurt. There's some kids that are in shells because you can't accept it, and the things that you say are very hurtful. So you need to grow up and change. A lot of kids are okay to be like, yeah, I'm gay, yeah, I'm bi, you know, like they're just finding themselves out. It's nothing to do with sexuality. Like, I wish and I was in elementary school and I knew about being gay and bi, and that was okay, because I would have figured myself out a long time ago, you know, and I would have been happy with who I was instead of wanting to die at the age of 13 because I thought that was better than living. There's some people that are still 13, still 14, still 15, still 16 from 1990, from 1991, because no one was accepting of them, and they had to take their lives sooner than what it was supposed to be, because they never felt comfortable and they were treated ugly and they were picked on constantly. So there's still that forever 13-year-old out there. But thankfully I was able to overcome that. And you know, here I am, 33, being able to enjoy my full life as a lesbian 33-year-old, being able to go to Oregon because I see it's accepting. I'm able to go to Austin because it is accepting. I know being in the 90s, and if I was 33, I never would have had those opportunities. It would have been very hard for me.
How do you envision the future for the next generation of LGBTQ plus youth, and what changes would you like to see?
What I see in the future is it is what it is. No one, it's not gonna be like, oh, that's a lesbian. There's gay people. At the end of the day, it's gonna be like, we're all humans. We're all people, and everyone has their sexual preference. Everybody, is different in different ways, and just, I don't know, like me, I'm a huge advocate just for love. I love people loving who they want to be, who they're gonna be with. I mean, I understand people are always gonna criticize and judge and stuff like that just because it could be that person, but I want them to judge because of that person, not because of the orientation. People are always like, well, why are people always like, oh, gay rights, this and that, like, who cares? But at the end of the day, it was just 2000 where being gay was not normal. It was just like in 2008, gay people couldn't even say they were gay in the military. And that's not too far long ago. So that's what people have to remember. Yeah, we've advanced so much, but there's so much more room to grow. There's so much more changes. I mean, it sucks that we have to have a Pride Month. We hope that one day there will be a day that we don't have to have a Pride Month because it's accepting, but there's still so much, things we have to overcome, even when it comes with drag queens and stuff like that, we're still something that we have to fight for. But there will come a day that we don't have to fight for it anymore. It's okay to be who you are. But that's why we have these things in place, because not too long ago, we weren't able to say we were in love with the same sex. We weren't able to say that we were gay in the military. We weren't able to be married, and I actually got to see that and live through that, so that wasn't too long ago. There was, and so at the time, I feel like it's going to get better, and it is getting better, and like there will be coming a day where we don't have to be like, this is Pride Month, and go all crazy at the end of the day, because heterosexuals don't understand they're lucky enough to not have to have a celebration because they never had to be oppressed before, and feel hated on or feel not accepting of just being being who you wanted to be with the same sex. So I feel like it's going in a good direction, and it'll get better.